Greetings, citizens. It is the 26th of May. This is the first official episode of Monthly Review Mondays. Right. So, beginning that, the article we are discussing in today's Monthly Review Monday is called The Spectre of Knowledge as Commons by Sam Popowich. And so, let us begin. 26th of May, 2024. I hope I said that. Right, so. Citizen Kathy, do you have anything to start, or should I start? Who should start?
You can start.
Center myself. Hello. Hello, citizens.
My notes. Hold on just a sec.
Citizens, fun little thing. Well, not fun, but potential little thing. Might try switching to Mint and try recording through that medium. It hasn't worked out so far, so we'll see. Okay, so I will start out. So this Prabir Porka Yasta. So the foreign donations excuse we've seen increase as of late of accusing leftists of foreign otherness, which is very interesting. That in this era of a stereotypically woke or a semi-woke, a corporate woke, whatever we wish to call it, age where calling attention to national and ethnic origin is supposedly frowned upon. We see this this tactic being used more than in previous recent decades, which I find quite interesting. And it raises a question of whether this proves that that wokeism as an ideology of justice, whether that has failed. Since if we would see, if it had not failed, a reduction in claims of foreignity and attention to ethnicity, which this article seems to suggest is, in fact, the opposite case. What do you think, Citizen Kathy?
I'm not sure about that. But I do have paragraph 1, the last line.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay. Bear with me. It was an Antonio Gramsci reference.
What page? Sorry.
I don't know how I got. Okay, whoops. Page 23. My notes are kind of all
skipping
over.
ahead here.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
sorry. Yeah, we'll have to go back to. I don't know why.
Yes, I see the Gramsci.
Okay. Can you read it and explain?
Okay, I'm going to have to read my own quotes. You keep.
Do you want to go back then and wait?
Well, I don't understand why you're so intent on having me read all of.
Okay,
I don't
you don't have to read. That's okay.
Where you.
That's just from the top to the to where it says between 1970s and the present.
But you know exactly what
okay,
it is.
all right.
And I'd
okay,
have
until
to
I
guess.
get organized, let me.
Okay, well, I will move on in my points then.
Okay.
Citizens. Okay. So, proponent of open science and technology, I found interesting for specific reasons, which come up later in this article. And skipping down, one of those reasons is there's at the core of this article, and Porcayasta's thinking, according to Popowich, a view of
Popowich, okay.
sharing of knowledge and an open knowledge, and this is what they view as a continuation of the tradition of the commons. And I would disagree with that notion. I would disagree with the notion that the commons has any successor in modern society, really. I think the commons came out of a very specific collection of feudal conditions, feudal material conditions, if feudalism, obviously, which I don't think can be replicated now, and I do not believe that concepts of openness or of public property, the state even, are connected in any significant way to the commons. Perhaps rhetorically and ideologically or intellectually, rather, they may be connected in a historical fashion, but not in any significant, fundamental way.
Well, no, it's, I don't understand how you're not, he's just against patent, it sounds like to me. He thinks that all knowledge should be shared, and when the knowledge morphs into technology.
Point of order, says in Kathy, please move closer.
Okay. Because he feels that knowledge is the patents are harming us, that everything's being monetized, that knowledge should be shared to then be morphed into technology, and then through technology we gain more knowledge and everything, and I do kind of agree with that, but I have a question for you. In this thing, he goes through Indira Gandhi to Modi, right?
Yeah.
What is the emergency?
Well, judging from the context of the article, it seems like the emergency was like a coalition government or a period of government in which perhaps an emergency crisis was called.
Because he refers to that quite often, so let's clarify that real quickly.
But to your patents thing, I only recall him mentioning patents once.
No, he mentioned it like 2 or 3 times.
Well, I'm not sure you can call that open knowledge. And certainly the public domain I would not consider the commons. Mm-hmm. The public domain is, and perhaps this is stereotypically Marxist, an advanced form of organization that simply wasn't extant in feudalism and did not arise out of or continuing from the commons.
Hold on just a sec.
And I'm not even sure that this is a question that has plagued the club for a long time. What is the nature of the commons, and what is the nature of public property or state property? Are public and state property the same? This is a convoluted question, and I cannot help but wonder if it's merely a question of historical, chronological interest.
I'm not sure, but the emergency in India was a 21-month period from 75 to 77 when Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had a state of emergency declared across the land.
Okay. Please don't read anymore. I mean, I guess it would fall under fair use, but I don't want problems. So please don't quote any more from that.
Oh, okay.
Right, so it was an emergency period of government.
Okay.
Okay.
But we don't know why.
Okay. Well, it's not the main focus of the article. The main focus, I think, is his propoundment, his exposition of a form of not epistemology per se, but of an ideology of knowledge.
I disagree with you. I think that's the whole point of his thing, is how these governments and Indira Gandhi and the new with Modi, I've got the initials written down, but how they are censoring people and throwing people in jail because, like with NewsClick, that's his business.
Yeah.
And everything. They are silencing journalists, and I think that's the main gist of this whole article.
Well, there's two assumptions there, or two presumptions, assumptions, whatever. One is that journalists are... Well, the first one would be, what is knowledge? And is it something that, is it this... He seems, that is, Prokayasta, to have a very universalist, perhaps even Gramscian usage of the term of knowledge, that it's something that everyone is utilizing, which I'm not sure that's a useful definition of knowledge. And then the second assumption in there, or presupposition...
But he sees like everyone should have the ability to use, right? Okay.
Well, it gets to a question of what is knowledge. But so second presupposition is that Modi has somehow limited knowledge, which goes to the first problem of what is knowledge in this case.
Well, and it also deals with how these governments are becoming far right, how they're all going far. And that seems to be, in his opinion, part of the problem. And everything with the BJP and the RSS. They want total control, so they don't want journalists putting their ideas out there to get people thinking. They want to have control of the media, and if you author an article that is truthful, but it's not something that the government wants the people to be aware of or whatever, that is a problem. And there's been a lot of people jailed, according to...
That raises a problem of... He says that in the Indira Gandhi RSS government did not limit knowledge on an individual basis, that individuals could still accrue whatever knowledge they like and whatever views they would hold. So he has to prove that Modi is different, and the problem with pointing to media outlets as examples of that is that media outlets are institutions in their own right, which muddies the waters.
He doesn't say they're different. He actually says in here.
But he says in the middle that the Indira Gandhi government didn't care what individuals thought. You could believe whatever you like, I think.
But now, and with this right-wing government, he seems that the class difference is very noticeable. And it's based upon religion.
Yes, but pointing to media outlets being censored is not the cleanest example.
Well, but it's his personal example. I mean, to be fair, correct?
Yes, but if he's saying the Indira Gandhi government doesn't do this, and then points to the Modi government's treatment of media outlets, that isn't a one-to-one comparison. In the first, he's talking about individuals being able to hold views. In the second one, he's talking about the Modi government doing things against media organizations.
And then you're right, this does go into a lot of different things. Then it goes into science and technology.
So he has to prove that the Modi government is doing this to individuals as well to prove his point. Or else his, that part of his point.
I mean, when you say individuals, he's individuals of certain religions that are not.
Well, yeah, you could say that the treatment of the yacht and Muslim farmers fills that prerequisite.
Right.
But is, not clean,
Yes, right, but
no.
But you know what?
I'm like turning to Zizek.
Because it's his life. I mean, I don't think anybody's individual life is always clean. I mean, because it's...
Yeah, but this is an analysis. We're not talking about someone's life.
No, I understand. That's true.
He should have pointed out, and this is an example of...
But it's not Premier writing this. It's...
Well, yeah,
I didn't read
Popowich.
I didn't read anything about Popowich, so...
So, here's something interesting. Print media. So, either Popowich or Perkayasta seems to have, if not a negative opinion of print media, then at least a view that digital media supersedes print media. And I could not disagree more with that sentiment.
I kind of disagree with that. I think if you look at popularity of the two, I suppose it depends how he's, but, majority of people who choose digital versus a majority of people who choose print. But he does give a good argument for print media. At some point, I don't even know if I acknowledged it, but I remember him making a really good point in for print media over
who
digital, the author of this.
Oh,
okay.
Really? I don't recall that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did, or maybe it was something else I was watching.
Everything I read was,
because
ambivalent of print.
Along the line that you just went to, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's when what's his first name so I get it right?
Prabir,
right. Established NewsClick in 2009, the news outlet explicitly focused on covering marginalized voices in Indian society. Support for previously silenced people went along with the need to speak to the new video generation for whom print media was already obsolete.
Yeah, that's...
And, I do think that's valid. I do think, you can't
Yes,
really...
but then later on he goes on to say that digital media is... Basically, he's implying it's superior. And I think he might even outright say it's superior.
Well, that kind of goes along with his article, though, regarding AI and...
Well, yeah, that's one of the problems,
yes.
Is that
the
internet is far more connected than...
Right.
In the book Communist Resistance in Nazi Deutschland by, I think it's Alan something, the book details how... Every time the Geheime Staatspolizei would shut down a communist print shop publishing a paper, another one would just spring up. I'm not sure the internet allows for such. You basically take part of it, you take all of it, is somewhat my my view of this. Microsoft only needs Copilot on, 1,000,000 or 1,000,000,000 computers, and then they basically can figure out the rest from there.
Right. Well, let me ask you something. This is totally off what we're talking about. But, because this does have many different subject matters, right?
Yeah.
How would you say, in your own words, how would you say that they all tie together for this particular article?
How they all tie together.
Yeah.
What?
How?
Sorry, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I would like to know.
Oh, I think I successfully disabled Copilot. Okay, good. That worked. Good. Sorry, I immediately want to disable Copilot.
Okay, I would like you to tie this all together for me, how all these different subject matters that he's talking about in this article.
Well, that's why I think the primary thesis underlying this whole article is his ideology of knowledge. I don't think it's a theory of knowledge, it's an ideology of knowledge. And I think it's a problem, because as he says later on, he's and if he's not an engineer, then he has an engineering background. Engineers that not mechanical material engineers, but technology engineers, computer engineers, they seem to live in a bit of a separate world, a bit of a different society.
Okay.
I hold that the computer as solution to problem of capitalism is incorrect, because the simple fact is,
It doesn't seem like he's real quickly saying the computer. It seems like he's saying
he
the release
he
of
really
knowledge.
touts digital, and that this is how open knowledge,
Knowledge. That's what he seems.
the digital world is almost completely intertwined with his ideology of knowledge. And the problem with that is, these things don't exist without the material to build the physical servers and computers. So long as capitalists control that material world, the digital world is, it doesn't matter. It's already controlled by the capitalists by virtue of them controlling, of capitalism, by virtue of it controlling the material that is used to enable the existence of, the digital world, the coding world. It's basically a mythology.
Okay. Yeah.
That is to say, it has some existence, but it's an existence that is subservient to actual material existence.
Okay. I'll buy that.
Right, moving on. In particular, change from print to digital and proliferation of smaller news outlets. Gain, he says the rise of social media, which I do not think is completely useful. Now, to take YouTube as an example, YouTube bots can oftentimes miss videos, but I think that digital existence is much more at risk than physical existence. You take a piece of paper and copy down something, and you have thereby become an outlet of whatever you copied down. Whereas the digital world both is much more interconnected, but also requires a level of technical specialty that is not possessed by the entire population, at least not at one time.
Okay, by the way, he is not an engineer. His schooling is English literature.
Well, there was something about computer engineering that he found it to be essential to his Marxism, as I recall. Right, so this means that science... let me find it.
Okay.
Damn it. Where is it? It's on page 27 somewhere.
Hold on, let me look.
Practically inextricable.
Okay. And what did it have? He was an engineer? Economic matrices. Okay, wait.
Where is it?
Must be on... Let's see. I've circled something here.
Damn it, now I can't find it, of course, when we're on... Science and technology are inextricable. Where's where he says... Of course, I can't find it.
Okay, that's okay. So,
He basically says, that his usage is reliant on technology, or his thought is being informed by technology.
That's because of his NewsClick, right? Because that's an online. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it doesn't change the point that he puts emphasis on this thing, on technology, which requires specialty.
Which I think he's gone to, because that's how he's dealt with NewsClick, with technology.
Well, yeah, obviously there's a problem
he sees that as the way of the future, basically.
Yeah, and I would argue that the Burgers do that. They view technology because that's where their class
here's the problem is,
now.
I mean, if you want to go into more of a sci-fi type thing, technology can be taken away by just the power grid and all that stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everything. Well, with a book, you've got it.
There's a reason mankind discovered, papyrus and clay tablets before.
Yeah, right.
Computers.
Right.
So, and that's my whole point is technology requires specialty that the populace, at least at one time, does not possess together. Mm-hmm. You have to teach someone how to, use the tools of privacy protection and, you understand why I mean that.
Yes.
It takes time to get someone to the point where they can avoid, say, Microsoft's invasive technological, innovations in quotations. Whereas all you have to do is take up a piece of paper and a pen and write something and just copy that on a piece of paper, and you can spread a message that way without any interference, so long as you're practicing, what's the word? Proper internal security practice, which doesn't require any technical specialty. You just use your brain, which of course also takes, getting better at, but it does not require any specialization.
So it said somewhere in the article that NewsClick was aimed to combat authoritarianism and everything, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then we know what the state of emergency was. Okay, Salman Rushdie called people of Probier's generation.
Rushdie?
Rushdie, yeah, I'm sorry. Generation, Midnight's children, coming of age in the aftermath of independence and partition, and is concerned with placing two apparent periods, the emergency and the current juncture.
Yes.
End of, I think I forgot to put down what this was. I think I was page 21.
Oh, finally you say which page I can't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That whole little Salman Rushdie, here it is, Midnight Children. Okay. In the opening chapter of Keeping Up the Good Fight, Probier asks...
Oh, please don't read verbatim. I don't want to get in trouble with monthly review.
Oh, okay. So anyways...
I don't know where fair use ends. So, best not to quote. Like, only mention specific words to give where you are, but don't...
Concerned with placing two apparent periods. Okay, so which is kind of what you're saying. The emergency and the current time. Okay, in the broader context...
no, please don't read.
Okay.
We don't want a copyright strike so early on
right.
the channel's history.
All right, well, anyways, I thought that was interesting. Read that and tell me what you think about it on page 21. It's the second paragraph in the opening chapter of...
Well, yeah, I mean...
Yeah, read that whole thing and tell me what you think of it.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to, because that wouldn't make for very interesting content.
Okay, but just tell me in your own words.
Yeah, so... I don't know. He has a view of the Gandhi, Indiru
he
Gandhi.
Seems to think. It seems like Probert thinks that those two periods are more similar than perhaps Rushdie does.
Well, yeah, I.
And what do you think of that name, Midnight's Children?
It actually reminds me of Arthur Koestler's Darkness at Noon.
Okay.
Which probably isn't the intended.
Yes, right.
Right, but so a Stuart Hall is mentioned here, and that name seems familiar. I think it might be in relation to Marxism Today. I think he might have worked on that journal.
Okay.
And we have a couple copies of that.
All right.
So it's very interesting to see him mentioned. Then Althusser gets a mention.
I did see that, yes.
So we've got Gramsci, Hall, and Althusser.
This is a very
which is
broad
fun.
And filled article. There's a lot of different things that are mentioned.
Well, it does not help that it's based on Indian, political history, and let us be honest, we don't really know.
Right. We're not right.
I mean, do you know even really anything about Mahatma Gandhi?
No.
Besides, he led the independence movement, and he was a bit of a pervert.
That's not true. I don't think that's true.
That's what.
No.
What?
Yeah, I don't think that...
There are accusations that
there's accusations against a lot of people that aren't necessarily...
had relations with female children.
Okay, well, we'd have to research. I wouldn't bring that up until we find out more about it, okay?
Okay, well, it's a pretty well-known accusation.
Well, I didn't know about it, so it's not that well-known.
Oh, that's a shame. You didn't know about those accusations?
Nope.
That's sad. Anyway, moving on. So Right. Where are we going? What is to be done? So, okay, there's a division betwixt science and technology posited in the later pages of this article. And I think there's some straw manning going on as well. He says that he uses the worst case example, the most extreme example of the concerns of technology camp. He uses the example of those who think technology is some autonomous advancing process. And I do not think that is the majority of the technologically skeptical camp. I believe the majority of the technologically skeptical says, Kathy, what are you doing?
I'm listening. Go on.
Camp are made of those who, like Professor Deneen, posit that the chief concern is that technology as a process of mastering nature points in a certain direction, and mankind's interests, and particularly the interests of capitalists and capitalism, both align to go in a certain direction and have trouble or are possibly incapable of stopping the process and taking a break, deliberating on whether something should be done and how it should be done. I think that is the chief concern of the majority of the technologically skeptical camp.
I agree with that.
So I think that is a bit of a straw man he does by pointing to the weird technology is malicious, or the AI will murder us all group.
Yeah, but he didn't say that. He said, some people fall into that camp, and then some fall into the camp that AI is wonderful and will do everything. And he says the truth is probably in the middle, is what he, in my...
Well, no, he says it's related to class, to the, I think he says both to class and
yes, he did.
To material conditions.
Yes.
The problem is that doesn't answer the critique, I feel, of Professor Deneen, that technological advancement is very much its own Hegelian dialectic. That is, it determines a very specific outlook, and then that outlook aligns with the interests of capitalism to go places mankind would otherwise not wish to go. Okay. And that's the concern. Not that AI is not that technology is some malicious. And in fact, you recall Professor Deneen in Why Liberalism Failed said that is not the case. We don't fear the maliciousness of the wheelbarrow. That's not what we're pointing towards in our concern, most of us.
Right.
So I feel that's a straw man that he points to that group as on the one hand and then points to utopians on the other.
I agree
he should have used the majority group.
Well, that's what I think with this whole article. I think it goes into a little too many different things, not allowing itself time to really reflect on each of those issues in a full-bodied way. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree that it is a bit all-encompassing or a bit general or, too extensive in its analysis. Okay, so... Right. So apologies, citizens. I'll be speaking in a moment, hopefully. So here's something interesting he says near the very end, the last page, in fact. He talks about a particularist, populist, nationalist way, in that the only form of nationalism should not be of land, but should be universal. And I would say that's a bit confusing.
Wait, where were you?
It's the last page.
Okay, which part?
It's about the middle, right before the quote.
Oh, okay.
The quoted passage. That's an odd way to phrase it. I should think that we want a nationalism of land, at least, as opposed to a nationalism of, ethnicity, a eugenic nationalism, a genetic nationalism. So that was a bit odd.
I like the way how he put that earlier somewhere in the... I didn't write it down. But it shouldn't be ethnic because a lot of places are made up of multiple types.
That's what I'm speaking of. We should strive for...
It should be border. It should be who's there now.
Nationalism of land, which he says is bad.
Oh,
I'm arguing that...
No, I think does... Are you sure? I thought he said it was good.
No, he says... damn it. Of course I can't find it when... it's very hard to find these things when we're...
Yeah, but that's okay. Take your time.
Yeah, but we have to make it interesting,
Yeah, that is interesting.
It might even... Oh, yeah, that defines itself through a land. It's the in the quoted...
Okay, so he does agree with us.
He's against a nationalism that is defines itself through land.
Really?
Which I should think is good. That's what we want as left-wing nationalists. We do not want a nationalism that is defined through ethnicity or genetics.
Okay, I must have missed that. Then is that what he says through ethnicity and genetics?
Well, I think that is what he means by land.
Okay.
Or he is just calling for open borders. That could be possible as well.
That's interesting.
And I think
that's
open
what I mean.
borders
This is
are
very
not particularly conducive to building any kind of society, but especially a socialist one.
Very interesting.
There should be, ways, but open borders, I think, just as abolishing all forms of policing is a poorly thought out, very capitalist era, capitalist dominion mindset that doesn't take into account, well, if we abolish the police, what happens if there's a murderer in the commune?
Right,
what do we do then?
Exactly, yes.
Should we just have like anarchical mob rule and everyone grabs their own guns? And
yeah, I think a lot of people do that they sit there and spout off, that's kind of like, there's so many like that do that where they spout off, we shouldn't have this. Well, but okay, these are still problems that you have to take care of. So what would you suggest replacing with? That people don't ever get to the replacement. We should get rid of this, we should get rid of that.
Postmodern critique is a problem.
Yeah, it's kind of bull.
Postmodernism only gets you so far.
Yeah.
You tear everything down, but then you don't replace it with anything. And I think this gets into the ground of Mark Fisher's capitalist realism, which we have to read at some point.
Okay.
That is an essential work wherein it is impossible to imagine any alternative society. And Samuel Moyne even discusses this concept in Liberalism Against Itself. I think it was it in the Pulper chapter where he details all the rightists talking about how socialism, insofar as it was a critique of society, is lamentable that it's disappeared. You know what I'm talking about. It was at the end of the Pauper chapter.
I don't remember.
Certain.
Yeah.
And that is the problem of capitalist realism, that we cannot imagine.
Well, no, I know. Or
it's easier to imagine, to quote Citizen S, the end of mankind and the planet than an alternative
but that's not true,
system.
because I don't have trouble imagining an alternate system. There's 1,000,001 alternate systems.
But that's anecdotal. We are dealing with society at large here.
Right. And the visionaries of our society, that's the problem right now, is we don't really have any visionaries, I guess.
Oh yeah, there's also a question of the destruction of the intellectual community as a separate thing, as a distinct thing, rather.
Mm-hmm.
A distinct sociality.
Right.
Which I've discussed many times, and it's a pet interest of mine.
Well, I'm going to
the fact that intellectuals are no longer connected, the fact that they no longer take on proteges, the fact that everything is done through the university system, the fact that there is no organic community, there's no
I know when you say that
or lyceum.
When you say that about the academy system,
yeah.
There's protege. In fact, more companies are doing that, where they're...
Companies?
Yes.
But companies aren't a community.
Right, no. But there's also...
It would probably be almost impossible to form something like the academy today. That is Plato's original academy. It probably is impossible
like the union.
Today.
The union has proteges.
The IWW, because the AFL is
like the plumbers and
mass structure.
Electric unions. They all have proteges.
Okay, but you're talking about like the company unions. The problem with those is that they are not organic. They exist within a structure.
Okay.
As soon as, the company or the state stops existing, those entities might as well no longer exist as well.
Well, but then what you're talking about is because communities don't really exist.
Well, and that's Professor Deneen's whole critique and why liberalism failed.
Yes.
And
they keep us so busy we don't get to know our neighbors, like in the
Well, and the digital world has negatively contributed to this.
But even prior to the digital world, it was especially in this country, I think more so in this country than others, it's set up so, like your jobs move you all over and everything. Whereas historically, you got a job, you stayed at that job, your neighbors worked at the same job, you all knew each other, there was community.
Yeah, it's very
it's
interesting looking back and seeing how many intellectuals, including ones that disagreed with each other, were connected.
Yes.
It's so odd seeing that dynamic that simply does not exist anymore.
Yeah. But, okay, I can visualize it existing again, but again, it would have to be systematic changes for that to happen.
I do not think I can visualize it existing so long as the digital world reigns as supremely as it has come to.
See, I disagree. Well, like, look at different activists, different issues and everything, where people, it depends how you want to utilize it.
But the problem is, as I said, the internet is so interconnected, and this gets into questions of parasocial relations. On the internet, you can easily go onto a forum into an image board, into a chat room, or into the comment section of your favorite YouTuber, the ability to build connection is not really there. Unless you know someone before the fact, and you communicate with them only as the internet serving as a medium, as opposed to meeting them through it, I don't think you build
Yes, I do think ways and places to meet people,
relationships.
build relationships are becoming harder. Even with school, to a point, it's not. Like in high school, you all go to the same classes, you get to know each other. Well, if you go to community colleges, it's not like that. It's.
Well, high school you had electives.
What do you mean?
You had electives, and then you had honors in it.
Yes, I agree, but
placement
still,
that separated.
it was a smaller scale structure, and you
that's
know what I
true.
mean? Yeah. And everything.
And so your point is that it was easier to build relationships there as opposed to
right.
in a
You're also-
depersonalized, anonymous institution like a college.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I would
exactly.
I would agree with that, certainly. And so there was a point I want to make that digital relationship building. Oh, I'm about to say something really controversial. I think the internet, the digital world, is a fundamentally ideologically liberal mode of being.
I'd have to think about that. That's a
it's
broad statement.
It's based upon a solitary individual having the ability to do as they wish and to be able to expunge any kind of connection. And this goes into Deneen's, characterization of liberalism, to expunge any kind of connection they find to be troublesome. You don't like a friend, just unfriend them. Problem solved. It's a perfect liberal utopia. And it demonstrates all the problems.
You know what? But it also...
Oh, they're off.
It also... Then you don't have to take responsibility. It's an easy way out instead of looking somebody in the face saying, hey...
Well, yeah, it's also hyper-anonymous.
This is what happened. I don't think we should...
It's completely depersonalized as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just an IP address.
Yeah.
And those change constantly anyway, so...
Yeah, I do agree with that. Well, I think that kind of covers everything in this particular reading.
Yes, and we are near the hour. It's at 53 minutes, so
okay.
I feel satisfied.
It's been an interesting conversation. Thank you,
right.
Citizen Nick.
Thank you, Citizen Kathy. This has been the first official episode of Monthly Review Mondays. Wait, don't leave. I'm wrapping this up.
Okay.
So... the previous episode was just a technical proto-pilot. This is the official pilot. I hope all of you citizens and newcomers have enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned next Monday for the second episode. Thank you, and farewell.